All right, good morning. We are going to talk about functions this morning and domain and range. So I first want to talk about like what a relation is and what a function is, and then how you can determine if a relation is a function. So a relation is just the relationship between different sets of information. So in other words, like your input values and your output values. So we have the relationship between two sets of information. Okay. And then a function is kind of like a vending machine. So you can think about it that way. You put some money into a vending machine and you get a snack or drink out. So it has to do with your input and output there, that when you put in $1, you're only going to get one item. You're not going to get multiple items out of that $1 unless the machine malfunctions. And then, in other words, that wouldn't be a function. So the definition of a function is for every input, there is exactly one output. Okay. So, and basically, when you're looking at different things that we're going to look at on the notes down here, you're going to look for all the x values different. Okay. So the x values cannot repeat. That's kind of your trick here. And then the whole idea behind that is like your vending machine. Okay, you put something in, you put $1 in, you get something out. Okay, and you only get that one item at a time. So there's several ways that we can look at this stuff. So the first thing that we're going to look at here will be your graphs. Okay, so to determine if a graph is a function, you will do what we call the vertical line test. Okay, if a vertical line passes through the graph more than one time, then it is not a function. Okay, so down here, if I draw a vertical line, it only passes the graph one time. If I draw another vertical line, it only passes the graph one time. So that makes that one a function. Okay, but then on this one, if I draw a vertical line, it passes the graph two times. And that's what makes it not a function. Okay. And then when you're looking at your coordinate pairs, okay, so this is your graph, you do your vertical line test. Here you're looking at coordinate pairs. So you want to look at all your x values. So I have 3, 2, and -3. They are all different, which makes it a function. So they're all different, so it's a function. Here I have 3, 4, and I have another 3. So because I have two 3s, then it is not a function. Okay. All right, and then let's look at tables. So when you're looking at tables, again, you're still looking at your x values. If the x values in the table are repeated, then it's not a function. So I'm looking at my x values. So I have 4, 0, 2, and 5. They're all different, so it's a function. And it's not a function here because I have two 8s. So if it's two 8s or two of the same x values here, then it is not a function. Okay, and so that's where you're looking at your tables. And then over here, we're looking at what we call mapping. So for mapping, same thing. I'm going to look over here on the left side. So this side will be my x values. And I want to know, are they all different? So I have 4, 3, -2, and 10, all different. That's a function. It does not matter that this goes to the -7 and that goes to -7 and that goes to the -7. I don't care anything about the y's right now. Okay, I only care about our input values. And then over here, 1, 3, 4, 9. The 3 here, notice it goes to the -1 and it goes to the 2. So because it has two different outputs, then it is not a function. Okay, and so that's the basics of figuring out, is something a function or not. You focus on the x values. Okay. All right. Next thing I want to discuss is domain and range. So when we're discussing domain and range, domain refers to your x values. Okay, so your possible x values for your graph. And the range will be your possible y values. Okay, and also domain can be referred to as your input values, and range can be referred to as your output values. Okay, so there's some tricks here when we're looking at writing and finding our domain and range. Let me see if I can move this up. There we go. All right, so the first thing I'm going to look at is going to be domain. So I'm going to start with my domain here, okay? So remember, domain, I'm looking at my x values. So down here across the bottom, that is my x axis. And basically, I want to know, where does my graph start and end going left to right? Okay, so this is where you're looking left to right. So here on the left, I have a little circle. This is where my graph starts. This is at 2. Then it curves, 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 and then it ends right here, but you got to go down to your x. So if you notice, that's where it starts, and this is where it ends. Okay, there's two ways that we can write this. I'm going to write them out and then I'm going to explain what they mean. Okay, so one way I can do this is write it like this. Another way I can do it is writing it like this. Okay, now what that means, the 2 is my starting value, the 6 is my ending value. Okay, but the difference in the sign, so like this is a less than, that's a less than or equal to, this is a parentheses, this is a bracket. Okay, you do have the difference in those, and I'm going to make a note down here based off of the open circles and closed circles. Okay, if you have an open circle, that means that that value is not included in the domain. Okay, or range. So not included. Oh, I can't spell. Included. And then this one is, it means that it does include that value. So includes the value. All right. So now, anytime you have an open circle, you are going to denote that with a less than sign or a parentheses. So wherever your closed circle is, it will be the parentheses. Okay, and then if you have a closed circle, it's going to have the less than or equal to, so it has the line up under it, or you can write it with the brackets. Okay, so now going back up here and referring to this, the 2 has an open circle. So with the 2, I have just a less than here, and I have a parentheses here. Okay, so that's what that means. And then the 6 has a closed circle. So I have the less than or equal to here in this form, and then the bracket here. And then what that means is that your x values are between 2 and 6. And here, same thing, that your domain is between 2 and 6. So the starting point and the ending point. Okay, so same sort of thing with range. except we're looking at the y values now. So we're looking along the y-axis. Okay, so one thing I like to do here, you will write it bottom to the top. So you always start at the bottom. So here's the bottom of my graph, which is at 2, just like it was here. And then here's the top of my graph, and it is at 7. Okay, so one way we can write it will be 2 with a parentheses because it has an open circle. And then the top up here is at 7 with a closed bracket. A closed circle, so it gets a bracket. So that's one way you can write it. Or I can write it 2 with a less than, and then a y, because it's domain, not range. Said that backwards. This is range, not domain. And then a less than or equal to, because of the closed circle, to 7. So I still have the starting value, the ending value, and the signs or the parentheses and bracket depends on the open and the closed circles.